Good evening, everybody. We are going to begin the June 3rd meeting with a public hearing. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Counselor Kane. Present. Counselor DeBona. Present. Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Hughes.
Here.
Counselor Liang.
Present.
Counselor Mahoney.
Present.
Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci.
Yes.
President Kroll.
Present.
9 members.
9 members, we have a quorum. We are here to discuss Council Order 2019-098, which is a utility grant of location at Atlantic Street for 57 Quincy Shore Drive. Is there anybody out in the audience this evening that would like to speak in favor or opposition relative to this utility request? Favor or opposition? Please come to the microphone. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. If you wouldn't mind, please stating your name and address for the record.
Yes, so my name is Irene Chan, and I live at 63 Atlantic Street, which is right across the street from the said utility pole that's being put up, that wants to be wires pulled down, I guess, underneath the ground. So I'm here today because right now there's currently 2 poles, and they have already stuck 1 pole right next to the pole that's currently there, which is right in front of my house. There is one directly right across the street as well. So I have concerns of they're going to be digging up in front of my house, and why can't the wires go straight up above? The pole is already like, what, 20 feet, the new poles that they've stuck up? So I don't understand why the wires can't go across instead of underground, because right now all the wires are running across on the top. So I don't understand what the problem is for going underground. And I understand it's for cosmetics, because, you know, the units are going for $650,000 each. I did my research. The penthouse is going for more. So understandable, you don't want to look at wires, but if I have to look at wires, I don't understand why my neighbors don't have to look at wires. So it's a big inconvenience for us. It has been every single day that I have been there. I have cars blocking me. I have debris everywhere. I'm consistently, along with my husband, going over and talking to the people, construction, whoever's next door in the, you know, in the little trailer that they have. The utility people have come by and stuck up the poles. I've had to have them move. I've been consistently late for work because of this. So it'll be a big inconvenience for me. My neighbors all are 2 families beside me, so, you know, they're renters. But they have to put out barrels and cones to block their, you know, parking space, because there's nowhere to park on our street as it is now. So I have to back up down my street, because I can't even go down my street because I'm prevented. So having this work done is going to be a bigger inconvenience, not just for me, but for everybody else. But because, like I said, they're renters, and I'm not a renter. I'm an owner of my house. So I'm speaking for myself. My husband's here as well. But, you know, like I said, we're very vocal. My husband talks to the construction people, and so do I. But it's getting to the point I'm getting aggravated because of the big inconvenience every single day, and having to explain to my job why I'm late almost every single day. So I don't understand why this has to go underground. That's my concern.
Thank you for sharing your comments.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor or opposition? Favor or opposition? If there is anybody sitting out there this evening that would like to weigh in on the utility but does not want to speak from the microphone, we do have sign-in sheets available at the rear of the room here. Mr. Pearson?
Evening, Councilman. The reason why we are looking to go underground over there, the pole that was placed on the side of 57 Quincy Shore Drive, that is a very tight lot. The original plans that were given to us looked like we could put the pole in there. We put the pole in, we don't have enough clearance between the pole and the building. Per the National Safety Code, we have, 4,000 volts that's going to be coming across the street. And being that close to the building, they did jet the building in a little bit, but still not enough clearance to provide service to that building. That pole has to come out, and the developer is going to put the conduit under the street up to a pole across the street. Now, the reference the lady was talking about, the second pole with the new pole, no, everybody has not transferred over to the new pole yet. So once the new pole, everybody's transferred over to it, the last party, which would be Verizon, will take the old pole out. So that will take care of the double ash pole situation over there. But the conduit is required to feed that building because there's not enough clearance over there. That building, basically, the footprint is almost the whole lot except for one little piece of it. And with the plans that we had, it looked like we could do it, but it's just too close. So that's the reason for underground the conduit for that building.
Mr. Pearson, you actually have confirmation that that will not be a double pole situation once it's completed?
Correct. That's
I know
pole
you-
35 that she's talking about. The last party will transfer off, which will be Verizon, and they'll yank the old pole out.
So that is documented and will be removed from the site?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the one across the street will be coming out also.
Okay?
Yep.
Appreciate it. Counselor Palmucci.
Sir,
Mr.
how
Pearson?
you doing? How many double poles do you guys have in the city of Quincy right now?
I could not tell you.
All right, well, I'm not going to give you another one.
Yeah, that one I can
Thank
tell you.
I'm good.
You know the history up here with the double poles, so.
Yeah, and I know Joe Cardinal's been
Sometimes.
working on that, so he could probably give you that number if you like, but that one I could not tell you, up top of my head.
Counselor Harris?
I'd just like to say to my fellow councilors that this is in my ward, and I'm not accepting this. No way. Double poles, tilted poles, get it right. Once you fix it, then we can do it. It's not right yet in the city, especially in my ward and other people's wards. So I'm listening to my constituents here. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just get some clarification? Did we say it wasn't gonna be a double pole? Correct. Okay.
Does but we still, okay.
Counselor? Did you?
No, I'm done. No, it's okay.
Okay, at this point, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:34. Okay. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled Quincy City Council meeting of June 3rd. Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Counselor Kane. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Yang. Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Present.
9 members.
9 members, you have a quorum. At this point, I would like to invite my fellow counselors, as well as members of the audience, to please rise. Join me in a moment of silence, keeping in our thoughts and prayers those brave men and women who defend our country. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, if you please would, read into the record the open meeting law.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you kindly, Madam Clerk. We will begin this meeting with the honoring of the Quincy Public Schools Promising Practices recognition, and Council Palmucci, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Superintendent Chris Farr, if you could, I'd like to talk directly at you. So thank you for being here tonight. I know you're all very busy, and I know we had a very exciting day today. I was pleased to participate in the walk from the old Central to the new Southwest Middle. What did I say?
Central.
I'm sick, so I'm like half speed here tonight. I'm sorry. I said Central? All right, you know what I mean, the new one. Right, I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to stop going off the cuff then. Superintendent, Christopher, I wanted to invite you here tonight because I wanted to recognize what the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Department has recently recognized in their Promising Practices Initiative, which establishes best practices for public schools and are meant to help officials learn from different school departments' successes. Recently, Quincy was selected as a model system to look at for improving graduation rates. QPS was recognized for improving its on-time four-year graduation rate for economically disadvantaged students and disabled students. And Quincy continues to have a lower than average dropout rates for English learners, Hispanic and Latino students, Black students, and students with disabilities. And when I saw this in the paper, I'm the first one up here, I think, when somebody needs to get kicked in the shins, I say, let's bring them up here and kick them in the shins, as the National Grid guy knows. But I also like to think I'm one of the first who will invite somebody who really deserves credit up here and to recognize excellence in the city of Quincy. And the more I thought about this, I read the article and it stuck with me about the Promising Practices Initiative and Quincy's selection. And I wanted to put this into perspective. QPS, our public school system, is succeeding in helping our most vulnerable students. And our poor students, our disabled students, our ESL kids, and we're helping students you're helping students who are historically underserved and who are historically in need of the most of services to get them to graduation. And QPS is helping them get their diplomas. And the value of a high school diploma, for those of us who have them, you think, okay, we went on to do other things. But for those who don't have them, that is a bar to any meaningful economic success in life. And it'll always be something that hinders them. And the numbers don't lie, right? So I just want to go through a couple of the numbers that QPS has produced. Quincy has a four-year graduation rate of 92.7, which is among the best rates in the state. In the 16-17 school year, the dropout rate was 0.6%. 0.6%. And that's the lowest of any urban school in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That is amazing. That is such an accomplishment. And that is a 30% reduction in our own comparison. That's a 30% reduction from the year before. Nationally, 1 in 5 high school students don't graduate in 4 years. And that number, that 20% of students, is weighted heavily towards urban school districts like Quincy or more densely populated municipalities. But through programming, staff dedication, and the leadership from the superintendent down, the school committee, Quincy Public Schools is accomplishing something amazing for our students in our community. And I invited the superintendent, the school committee, the leadership team here tonight to recognize this success and to publicly thank you. And I wanted to do that. So I didn't do a commendation. We give out the commendations. You've probably gotten a lot. It occurred to me that what educators like the most are apples, right? So I got a whole bag of apples for you and the team, Superintendent. So instead of a commendation, I'll give you an apple.
Thank you so much, Brian.
I'll put it in the bag.
Good, thank you.
And I know that, Superintendent, that you're the good type of leader that recognizes their team, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to say a couple words and introduce the folks who have helped you accomplish this amazing task and something to be so proud of that, we really are thankful to you and to everyone for accomplishing that.
And Brian, thank you very, very much. It really is an honor to be here. I just want to make sure we introduce some people as you allow, and Deputy Superintendent Kevin Mulvey, is here. Our school committee, Kathy Hubley is here, and Vice Chair Emily Lebo is here, as well as Anthony Andronico. And so I can start with the school committee and talk about the support that we get from the school committee, because what we try to do more than anything else is to try to get to know every single student. So you're right, the educators that we have, the teachers that we have, our academic support people, all understand that that is our goal. But we can't do that alone. The school committee, certainly our mayor, and certainly this city council funds so many great programs, as our school committee, former school committee members know. We have so many great programs and pathways for all of our kids that really makes the difference. But your support is really something that we need every year, and it's consistent that when we come here, you ask some questions, you need to know what's going on, but we're very appreciative of the city council and what you do for us. Our school committee, I know, always here at every event that we have, they're there, they're supportive, so we're very, very lucky. But I'm also very fortunate to work with some wonderful people as well. So Mara Papil's here, Director of Student Support Services, Maddie Roy, Director of Curriculum, and Beth Hallett, Dr. Hallett, for EL, and so many other programs. They all have a lot of different responsibilities, unique responsibilities, and Keith Segala for technology, and our partnership, who plays a significant role, actually today played a significant role in the opening of such an incredible, incredible school that anytime you want to come down and take a look, anytime, just give me a call, and I'm glad to be here. But it's really about pathways, it's really about programs, it's really about knowing who your students are. And I think from our high school down to our pre-K, that's really the goal that we have. And again, the programs that we have, I think, serve all of our students. As Counselor says, you know, many could be underserved, but not in the city of Quincy. There is no throwaway student, there is no throwaway family. Everyone is important, and I know that we know that. Our school committee certainly shares that with us, as well as Mayor Koch. So with that, I want to thank you for the acknowledgement and the honor, and
The apples, don't forget the
we're
apples.
pleased, very pleased.
Yeah, and the apples.
And the apples, yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot
don't forget the
So
apples.
eventually, I would have, when I'm walking out, I would have remembered the apples.
You won't leave with them. I don't like fruit, so we'll make sure you take them.
But thank you, and I think the former school committee members know so much of what we do, our pathways and our programs, because you were involved in those as well. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank the city council for continued support, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Counselor, are you okay?
Yep.
Well, no, one of the former school committee
Questionable, but
members,
I'll
Counselor
yield to
Large.
my
Well, all
colleagues,
right,
yep.
you're right, Carson. Counselor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Palmucci, for bringing the school committee and the whole staff up here tonight, and Dr. D with the superintendent. Just want to echo my sentiments with that, and also the extracurricular activities. I know when I first got on the school committee, we formed an ad hoc committee with the band, and to see those beautiful, nice uniforms in the Memorial Day Parade. And I just recently went to one of the events at the high school, the all-city band with our elementaries and middles, and then our North Quincy Band Pops concert. And I just saw how dedicated the program was to the kids, your teachers, your staff, your Band Boosters program, and it's working collaboratively on allowing these kids to excel. And I think that band program, and I always say to the kids, it's cool to be in the band. And it really is, because these kids, it's grown so much, and it's because of people like yourself, Dr. D, and the staff that really gets behind these kids, and the school committee members that I've served with. So I just want to say the extracurricular activities that you guys do, and the community service that a lot of the kids do throughout the city, the Junior Air Force ROTC program. And I just, with my colleagues on here now, with Councilor Mahoney and Councilor McCarthy, just coming from the school committee, just seeing how much has grown and how we work together here. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Councilor Palmucci, for bringing everybody up here tonight. We'll have a little powwow after this. Do you have any pizza in the back, Councilor Palmucci?
Just
Okay,
apples.
just apples, okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dr. Christopher.
Thank you, Counselor DeBona. Counselor Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I just wanted to share a story that I think I've shared with a number of you before, but I am so appreciative to my colleague for giving me this opportunity to reiterate this. There was a girl that I met about 4 years ago. Her parents had just moved here. She didn't speak any English, and she was at home every day. She was 15, and they just didn't know how to do that next step to get her enrolled in the schools. And I was able to bring her over to Quincy Public Schools, and that was the first and last I ever had to do anything, because at that point, you guys took the reins and, got her registered, made sure she got her immunizations, brought her over to South Cove, made sure that her family got the insurance that they needed, and she graduated last year from North Quincy High. She's the first one in her family to graduate, too. It's because of the work that you guys did, and that story has always stuck with me, and that's just one story, one example of the many kids and families across our city that you guys impact daily. So thank you for that. I will never be able to thank you enough for changing that one girl's life and for making the impact that you guys do on our city. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mahoney.
I just saw Arlie downstairs, and I said, hey, am I at the wrong meeting? I was just kind of excited, because it would have been okay if I was, because I do miss being an active member on the school committee, but I know that I get to see you guys. But I thank Council Palmucci for bringing this forward. I always love to see the Quincy Public Schools up here for great recognition. I want to thank Kathy Hubley. She was an outstanding help yesterday at the Quincy Pride, along with many of our Quincy Public School students. And I can't tell you, being on the school committee for so long and being a parent of 3 students, my last one is now a junior in high school, I can't believe that, but knowing the incredible things that we do in the Quincy Public Schools throughout the city. And it's absolutely true. There's not one student that is ever overlooked. We try really hard to make sure that everybody has the opportunities to achieve in Quincy. And that is saying something when you have over 9,000, almost 10,000 students in your school system. And it's not an easy task to do. And it's a tribute to not only the leadership, but also the teachers and the principals, all the way down to the aides and the lunch people and the secretaries. Everybody plays a part in the success of the students, even the custodians. Everybody knows those students' names, and it's pretty impressive. It feels like a really big family when you go into the Quincy Public Schools, no matter what your background, no matter what your religion, no matter what your nationality, whether you speak English or you're just coming here for the first time. And we have many languages. And it's amazing how we actually are able to do it in a humane way to bring people into the family, to bring people in, and I could think of it as a family, to bring people into the family and let them feel that acceptance. And then they just blossom. When you watch the students come up and they do their essays, you feel the passion that they have. There are things that, if you don't have the opportunity to see it, you should, between the plays and the academics, and then also the athletics that happen in our school system. There's not one thing that we don't do to try to achieve more for them, and that's saying something about our city. I also want to mention, it doesn't stop. Marva Peel was at the YMCA at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was there too, and she came right over to me, and we had a conversation of something that had to happen. So they're constantly working, and I had to laugh because I was like, oh my gosh. but there was something that she needed to bring to my attention, and she did, and we took care of it. I think Dr. Sparrow got the text at 6:10 saying, hey, just want to make sure we're all set for this. But thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, because as a parent who has watched their children achieve, and I have 2 out of college now, that really benefited from the Quincy Public Schools, and they're going to benefit as they move on too. And I'm glad they had their roots here, because we do talk about it on a regular basis at home, what Quincy offered our students, and it's the diversity that we have in our Quincy Public Schools, and they couldn't have got it anyplace else. So thank you to all of you, and I only look forward to seeing more things happen and great things, because I'm not surprised by the achievements. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I miss you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Superintendent, always a pleasure. One thing that, as Council Palmucci was talking about statistics, that jumps out at me with everyone here, school committee members, past and present, and superintendent leadership team, past and present, and especially this group that I worked with for over a decade, availability, right through to the principals, weekends, nights, cell phone calls, 24/7. I don't know if other school systems operate like this, but these folks that are in front of us tonight and folks that have been here in years past, proactive, especially the guy at the podium, returns the calls, meets with parents on the weekend, meets with parents at night, calls parents. Don't call my office, have them call my cell. So the involvement that these folks and the system and the staff, all the way down to the elementary, and the support services, the folks that aren't here tonight, that I bothered for a lot, especially Mr. Segala's brother. But they were always good. and always back and always proactive and got the job done. So I think that's the big factor here, led by you, Dr. DeCristofaro, setting the tone, setting the field, and everyone following suit. It's a well-oiled machine. The mayor has been great supporting the budget, and you guys know how to execute it. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council McCarthy. Dr. D, before we let you go, I just, want to echo the sentiment of my colleagues here and obviously say to, our colleagues, our friends on the school committee, and as well as, your administrative team. We're thrilled you're here with us this evening. We hear, obviously, a lot of the positive feedback throughout the community. I'll share a quick story. My oldest isn't in the school system yet, but we had an opportunity to do the 1 mile run over at Cliff Marshall back a few weeks ago, and he's it'll be 4 in August, and the amount of outpouring from the community, the visibility of the staff at Cliff Marshall, the PTO, I mean, the amount of enthusiasm at that event was overflowing, and it's just kind of struck a chord that the enthusiasm inside of the Quincy Public School System is alive and well and very contagious. So I know there's a lot of work that goes into what you do on a daily basis, and I'm just grateful to the council for bringing this forward and, having the opportunity to acknowledge success, because each and every one of you, play an integral part into the success of really shaping the future for tomorrow, and that's a pretty awesome thing to be a part of. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks. Could I just close with a couple
Please
of
do.
notes? Yeah, before we take our apples and
And hit the road, yeah, right.
the apples, by the way, But, I had a conversation after the state visit. They came and they spent the whole day. We invited them to spend more than one day. They came to, when they initially came to visit with us, they came with their agenda, but they knew that we were going to also have our agenda, and we kept them for well over 2 hours. And then we scheduled them for 2 days, and they came back and said, no, we can't do all that. So, Kevin scheduled them with the leadership team. So they came and they talked to so many parents, they talked to so many of our kids, our caring educators, principals, assistant principals, with all the special programs that we have. The day after, I got a call from Jeff Wolfson, who's the Deputy Associate Commissioner of Massachusetts, obviously from DZ, Elementary and Secondary Ed, and he said, I don't know how Quincy does it. I don't know how you do it. But you people are doing a remarkable, remarkable job. Keep it up. And I share with him that it really is, it really is a team effort. You can read it in all the books and do all that sort of stuff, but it really is. This city is unbelievable with the support for our kids. And I call it surround care, and that's what it is. And you're certainly a huge part of every student in every school. And I can't be more appreciative, but when the Deputy Associate Commissioner says that, that's a proud conversation that I had. So I want to thank you all very much. And again, not for the apples, but thank you for honoring us. It's very much appreciated. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Doctor. With that, the first item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
2019-102, an appropriation for
Motion to waive the reading.
$619,338.
Motion made by Counsel Kane to waive the reading on the motion. Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know our representative to the Community Preservation Committee will want to say a few words, but this is a standard appropriation that we go through every year, and just to make a note, I don't think there's been changes on everyone's order here, but these funds will be coming. The first two, Recreation Projects Fund and the Historic Preservation Fund, they'll be coming from the Community Preservation Budgetary Reserve account. And then the third part will still be coming from the Open Spaces Reserve account. So motion to approve on that.
Motion made by Counselor Kane, second by Counselor Hughes. On the motion, the city councils are representative on the Community Preservation Committee. Counselor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would, just the hard work that this Community Preservation Committee does, I have to say a few words to just acknowledge some of them. Our director, Kristen Powers, has done a great job this past year with the different applications and getting the information to all the members. I just want to give two shouts out to Coleman Berry, our chairman, who's been served quite a while. He's going to be stepping down. He no longer is going to be on the Community Preservation Committee. I want to thank him for his hard work over the years, as well as Dave Murphy, that moved over to Natural Resources. The two new additions on the Community Preservation Committee are now Scott Campbell and Ellen O'Donnell. I also want to give a recognition for the rest of the group as well. John Brennahan, Connie Driscoll, Tony Ritchie, Will Smith, and Maureen Marathis. Just real quick on some of the, I just want to go over some of these things because these folks have worked very, very hard. It takes a whole year to elapse, some of them to do the, in the recreation category, the Marymount Elementary School came in with an outdoor classroom, which hopefully will get funded tonight. A lot of hard work with funding they went out and did some fundraising themselves in the PTO. Quincy Housing Authority came in with two nice projects. One is at 80 Clay Street, which is going to be a gazebo over in the front end of that, and then a accessible recreation area over at the Lewis George Village and Sawyer Towers, which is good. On the historical preservation category, there are a few I want to name. The Dorothy Quincy Homestead for the Colonial Dames, DCR, which is great projects to be in the city of Quincy. There's a few things in there. The restoration and preservation of historical city documents and artifacts for the city clerk. That was a very important project that Nicole Crispell came in to do. Preserve and restore windows for the Church of the Presidents. The exterior preservation efforts at the Josiah Quincy House of the Historical New England. Update the City of Quincy Historical Architectural Survey for the Quincy Historical Commission. Also, there's a preservation efforts of the historic collection maintained by the Quincy Yacht Club. Preservation of the historical documents and artifacts aboard the USS Salem for the USS Salem Naval Shipyard Museum. Another one that was really good is over at the Fall River Clubhouse is to rehabilitate and create accessible improvements, which is a huge entity for the city of Quincy. It's under the Department of Public Buildings. And in the last category, the open space, to beautify Quincy Causeway. The Squantum Seaside Gardeners do that every year with preserving that causeway. The second one was efforts for restoration and preservation of the Butler's Pond for the Friends of Butler's Pond. That's been a project that's been ongoing to do with some of the dredging and all that other stuff, so this is a good one. And then lastly, the Walson Garden Club also teamed up to do and help out with the Dorothy Quincy Homestead for improvements and enhancements to the Boxwood Garden. I only go through these things because I know the preparation and the amount of work that these volunteers and different groups and nonprofits do to come in front of the Community Preservation Committee. The time, the effort, I think it's something to speak about here tonight. I know a lot of my committee members are busy tonight and they wanted to be here, but it's good to recognize them with their hard work. They're very knowledgeable. They know the city. They drive around at all these places and take looks at them on their off time. We talked about the playgrounds this past year that we have in the Flex Line. A lot of us venture out into these playgrounds and enjoy this for the city. So with that said, I just, I know motions to approve, but these are great projects for the city. It's going to help us in these categories. So with that, thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor DeBona. On the motion, Councilor Mahoney.
Hi. So I have no problem with the appropriation, other than the fact that I was just trying to figure out, like, where the director was and what the cost was. And because it's a department within the Parks Department, and it's Community Preservation Acts that's the money comes from our tax dollars, it's mandatory part of your taxes. It would be nice to have a presentation in front of the city council. I appreciate that Council DeBona is on the committee. However, when I went to the website today, just to take a look at some of the updates that were in this order that came before us tonight, all I had on the website was this. It's just a community preservation. Basically, the last time it was updated, it says, due to the weather issues, Community Preservation Acts applications and considerations will be accepted until Monday, January 8th, 2018 at 4 p.m. There's absolutely no direction or any information on what some of the rules are for getting that. And when I went to some other sites, just quickly, in multiple different communities that also do this, not only do they have a menu and they have fast facts on how to actually go about applying and what does and what doesn't qualify for those things, they also have a list of the things that they've done and maps to it, so the taxpayers can see where their money's going to. If a taxpayer was interested in knowing that right here in the city of Quincy, they'd have to dig through, minutes like this. So I guess because this is a paid position that's paid for by the taxpayers of the city of Quincy, I expect more of a presentation than just us moving the monies into that, and having a full disclosure of those things. And I would expect that if there's a department head that's doing that they'd be presenting it before us as well. So it's just it's a commentary on that, because I do think that there are people have asked me, how do you go about doing it? Where do the Community Preservation Act money go to? And how can I apply? And I direct them to the website. And then when this came before us tonight, when I realized I was directing them to the website, I realized now I know why they call me. It's because there's really no directions on the website to be able to do that. There's a phone number they can call, but it's not as intuitive as other communities are. And taxpayers do have a right to be able to look at those things as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Motion made by Counselor Kane, seconded by Counselor Hughes. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Counselor Kane. Yes. Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor Mahoney. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Palmucci. Yes. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members, the item passes. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
Number 2, 2019-103.
Motion made by Counselor Kane on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. As y'all are aware, we had a devastating fire in Ward 3 across the street from the Wollaston T Station on Newport Ave, and there's been some work to date that's taken place in demolishing the remainder of the structures, and so the city is asking for $200,000 to demolish the remaining structures at 307 and 317 Newport Ave, and we have here the Director of Inspectional Services, Jay Duca, to speak to that.
Thank you, Councilors.
Commissioner, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions. So we're looking to get going and get the pieces in place so that we could pay for the demolition of the remaining building and the demolition of the now standing building at 301 Newport Ave. The owners have not been responsive, so we're taking this step to put this out to bid and have the buildings torn down. The money will be secured by a lien on the property, under Mass General Law.
Right. So it's essentially, there will be some accountability.
There will be some accountability. The city will get reimbursed eventually when the property is sold.
Thanks. That's the most important point for me. And, it's a blight, it's an eyesore. Would love to see that. We're having the Wollaston T Station open up within weeks, so it would be great to have that cleared out and to hopefully move forward with some folks to come forward and take a look at that parcel for rehabilitation. So thanks for being here. Motion to approve.
Motion made by Counselor Kane to move approval, second by Counselor McCarthy. On the motion, Counselor Palmucci.
Good evening, Jay.
Good evening.
I looked at this one carefully when I got the agenda, and, I'm going to support voting for the money, but I want to ask you about about recouping those costs. This is it's like one of those checks that it hurts to write, like you're paying for the pool in December, it just hurts. I have no doubt that you've made every effort to reach out to the owners, that the administration has, that whoever else is involved has. But can you speak to how we get the money back? So it's a two-pronged question for me is, do we need to spend the money to do it? And then two, how do we get the money back? I agree that we need to do it. Someone could get hurt there. It's an eyesore and it poses a risk. So moving on to the second part is, how do we get the money back? It can't just be, we're going to put a lien and wait for them to sell it, right? Because that could be 30 years.
Could be. But under Mass General Law, Section 11 through 14 allows the city to have the building torn down and a lien placed on the property to collect the money to get reimbursed for any costs incurred to tear the building down.
And I might be pushing the boundaries of your departmental involvement, but would it be possible for us to move to execute the lien prior to a sale?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Because I know you can lien, but you can also move to enforce I believe you can move to enforce a lien prior to a sale if the value is high enough, it could force like a sheriff's sale. I'm just like on Hancock Street with the folks who have blighted properties there. It's not like we can take this by eminent domain, but I would support that. You get on board or get out of the way. Your property was burnt up in a suspicious fire, and you're nowhere to be found. Was the building insured? Is there any way that the city can make a claim against the insurance? Because insurers usually have a responsibility to make the site safe, so it isn't a public nuisance that continues to weigh against their risk.
Yeah. One of the buildings, I'm sure there are no owners left. I think they're all deceased. The Oddfellows Hall, I don't even know who the owner is. I do know the owner of 307 Newport Ave. 301 Newport Ave is just, they've been telling me they've been insured, but I'm not sure if they're insured. I've been hoping against all hope that the owners would come forward and take care of this themselves.
Right.
That hasn't happened, and I don't want to end up going through the summer and into the fall. So that's why I'm taking this step today.
Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. I for a brief period of time, I worked for an insurance fraud defense firm, and my professional experience is that every suspicious fire always is insured, because that's usually the reason why there was a suspicious fire, but I don't know the details of this one. I suppose I'm going to support this because I think you need to get cracking on it, right? You need the money. But I would ask if the administration, maybe on June 17th, if there's time, or at the first meeting in the fall, if we could just get, or even by way of memo from the legal department, if there's any other way that, or they could speak to how we could get the money back and what avenues are available beyond just a lien and then hope somebody sells it in the future, because that's, the interest alone could build up to the point where the property isn't worth as much money as the city is out. So if we could do that, I'll support it either way, but if we could do that, I think it would be helpful for the body to know. So, thank you, Mr. President. Thanks,
Thank
Jay.
you, Counsel. Motion made by Counsel Kane, second by Counsel McCarthy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor Mahoney. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Palmucci. Yes. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members, the item passes. Next item on the agenda, please.
Thanks, Jay.
Number 3, 2019-104.
Motion to waive the reading?
Motion to waive the reading by Counsel Kane on the motion.
Motion to move to finance. We'll hear more about this on, I think, June 17th, Finance Committee.
Motion to move to finance, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
2019.
Motion to waive the reading?
On the motion.
Motion to move to finance, please. Same. Will be heard on June 17th, Finance Committee meeting.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam.
Number 5, 2019-106.
Motion to waive the reading?
On the motion.
Please refer to Finance Committee.
Motion to refer to finance. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, please.
Number 6, 2019-107, an ordinance under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, establishing of a
Read the reading.
National Grid roadway improvement
Read the reading.
revolving fund.
Counselor Yang, motion to waive the reading on the motion. Counselor.
Thanks, I'd like to move this to the ordinance committee, please.
Motion to place this in ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Next is number 7, 2019-108, an ordinance renaming a portion of Arlington Street to Richard A. Stratton Way. That this portion of the way located in Quincy, known as Arlington Street, thank you.
Motion made by Counselor Kane. I'm sorry? To what?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit.
Good.
This was a proposal from the mayor's office, but I'm happy to support it. It's over in the area where there's some considerable improvement with the new hotel on the corner there on what is currently known as Arlington, but it's a suggested change that there's no continuity from Arlington through, I guess, what would be where Stop and Shop and Marshalls continue. So the proposal is to change the way to Richard Stratton Way. So I'll have Mr. Walker speak a little bit more to that.
Sure. Through you, Mr. President, with the indulgence of the councilors, talk a little bit about the proposal that Mayor Koch and Councilor Kane have submitted tonight to rename a portion of Arlington Street in honor of Navy Captain Richard Stratton. It's a subject the two have talked about over the last several months, and it's timely before the body because that address the address that will be impacted is getting ready to open as a hotel. Captain Richard Stratton, without exaggeration, is nothing short of an American hero. He was raised a Montclair boy, graduated from North Quincy High School. After graduating, he joined the United States Navy and was trained as a combat pilot. He was deployed to Vietnam in 1966 and completed 21 missions before his A-4 Skyhawk was shot down over enemy territory on January 5th, 1967. He was captured by North Vietnamese forces and held in captivity for 2,251 days, more than 6 years. He endured years of torture, at one point forced to submit a charade confession in which he was made to publicly criticize the American presidents in Vietnam. His case, later highlighted in news reports, was among the first that brought attention to the American public about the inhumane treatment suffered by American POWs for many years in Vietnam. Stratton was released on March 4th, 1973, and while he was a prisoner, he was promoted to the rank of commander. It's worth pointing out, as many of you know in this body, that the plight of American POWs in Vietnam is particularly meaningful to this community. Captain Stratton is the second POW that this city had. Air Force Captain Alan Brudno, another North Quincy High graduate, made it home, but would later take his own life because of the abuse he suffered. His family and members of the Vietnam Combat Combined Armed Forces of Quincy fought for years, ultimately with success, to have his name, Captain Brudno's name, added to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. Both men are honored at the North Quincy High School Atrium of Honor. Captain Stratton went on to continue to serve in the Navy in various roles for another 13 years after being released. When he retired from active service, Captain Stratton earned his degree in social work and spent the rest of his career counseling members of our armed services fighting PTSD and substance abuse issues. Importantly, Captain Stratton is 88 years old and still with us. Too often, these kinds of recognitions happen as memorials. Mayor Koch feels very strongly that we as a community, when possible, should honor those who deserve it while they are alive to be honored. With that, on behalf of Mayor Koch and Councilor Kane, I would respectfully ask that the council waive the public hearing and approve this request to name the portion of Arlington Street from West Quantum Street to Newport Avenue as Captain Richard Stratton Way.
Waive the public hearing and on that motion to approve.
Motion made by Counselor Harris, motion made by Counselor Harris to waive the reading, second by the hearing, second by Counselor Kane. So it's a double, right? Correct?
Yep.
Call the roll.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Hughes.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes. 9 members.
9 members.
Motion to approve.
And a motion to approve made by Counselor Kane, second by Counselor DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Hughes.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor Mahoney.
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counsel Palmucci, President Kroll,
Yes.
9 members.
9 members. Item passes. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
Number 8, 2019-109, an ordinance under Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5C, establishing a residential
Waive the reading.
property tax
Motion made by Counsel Liang to waive the reading. On the motion, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is something that has been on my mind for quite some time, but, as we go through this year's budget season, it's become very front of mind, and, the more that we have these proposals for residential developments, large-scale residential developments coming online across our city, it's all sort of coming together and coming to a head that I, really want to sort of bring to light an opportunity to explore what is already established here in Massachusetts, which is the residential property tax exemption for our residents who own the properties that they live in. I just feel like, as our city continues to grow and develop, there are a number of benefits that are felt across the city, but I think that, more importantly, we should make sure that this benefit is felt by existing residents and, at the very least, not to their detriment. And my colleague to my right, Councilor Palmucci, has been working on this for quite some time now, and I'm grateful for his support as I try to take this next step to move forward. And I'd like to give him an opportunity to speak before I move this to ordinance committee.
So you're referring this to ordinance?
Yes, please.
Okay. Counsel Palmucci, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'll second that motion. I had previously introduced a resolution calling for a residential tax exemption either earlier this year or in the last session. Councilor Liang thought I was too wimpy and we needed to draft an ordinance to put it through, so I gladly join her in that effort. Just to speak a little bit about what this does, this is an ordinance for Quincy resident owners. If you own your home in Quincy and you live in it, this is a benefit to you. It doesn't help developers, it doesn't help businesses, it doesn't help folks in the commercial space or anyone else but the residents. Quincy folks need to benefit from the growth we're experiencing in our city. They deserve a benefit because they certainly deal with all the negative impacts from that growth, from traffic to all the other conditions and quality of life issues that come from the exponential growth that the city's experienced over the last decade. This ordinance would give them a benefit, a significant tax break. This is about a quality of life improvement and making sure Quincy residents can afford to continue to reside in Quincy. The longtime resident owners of Quincy need to get a piece of that growth pie. And that's what this does. It shares the benefits of growth. And I join Councilor Liang in asking that this be put into the, ordinance committee, and we get into this in the fall, and hopefully we can get this passed and provide some relief to folks.
Moving to ordinance. Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, Counsel Mahoney?
I just want to thank Nina and Brian for bringing this forward, because just to bring it into ordinance and to have discussions, as I know, as I'm sure many have, had discussions with the assessor's office, and I know that this isn't an easy task to be taken on, but I know that other communities have done it, and it can go up to 35%, but we don't have to be at 35 because it depends on really what the assessor, how we can come back and map this out. But, having conversations one-off is not something that the public can hear. And to bring this to ordinance and to actually have a real discussion about it so the taxpayers can know that we are recognizing that development has kind of got way ahead of us in the city of Quincy. And the taxpayers are being, and really the homeowners and the committed people who are waiting for everything to come together in Quincy have put their dues in by being there through all of this development. And it's time for us to actually step up to the plate and make sure that we're representing those homeowners that are paying their taxes and doing what they need to do and suffering some of the consequences with development. And hopefully we will find a way to map out a way to protect those homeowners. And I really do appreciate that it's coming to ordinance so that we can have this real thorough discussion and hopefully find that path to helping those taxpayers. So thank you very much.
Counsel DeBona?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank my two colleagues for bringing this aboard. This is something since I've been up at the City Council for the last 4 years here, this is something that we're continuously talking about and trying to support our residents, our taxpayers of the city with what's going on in the city, with the economic growth, with the construction, with the traffic, with all these changes that are going on in the city. So I'm happy to support this. I'm happy to go into ordinance and talk a little bit more about this. I've been a proponent to talk about these issues that we face, these challenges, and how to make it fair for everybody. I mean, that's the key word is fairness. Working together as a body here, a city council, to establish, I mean, we govern by the legislative side, so this is something that I'm looking forward to. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor, and I'll be interested to kind of hear the discussion as I was kind of listening to everybody here this evening. I don't want to say channeling my my inner Joe Finn, but listening to him over the years, I think one of the items that I learned from Council Finn is we all have an opportunity, particularly during budget season, to pass savings on to the taxpayers, and that's through cutting the budget. So with that, I will look forward to a discussion in the fall. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, please. Madam
Number
Clerk.
9, 2019.
Motion made by Counsel Kane to waive the reading on the motion.
To the sheet metal workers.
Motion to accept the gift and send a note, seconded by Counsel DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Liang. Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members, the gift is accepted. Next item on the agenda, please.
Number 10,
Motion to waive the reading?
2019-111.
On the motion, Counsel.
Motion to accept the gift, and please send thank you notes to these various donors.
Motion made by Counsel Kane to accept the gift, second by Counsel DeBona. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Liang. Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members, the item passes. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
Next item is number 11, 2019-112, a resolve declaring the first Friday in June National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Waive the reading.
Counsel Palmucci on the motion.
Thank you. Myself, Councilor Liang, and Councilor Mahoney brought this resolution in, asking to declare the first Friday in June National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I actually authored this and brought it in before the last Friday's tragic massacre that saw 12 municipal employees in Virginia attacked and murdered in a government office. It's only the latest incident in these mass shootings, unfortunately. Every day, 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. We have a significant gun problem in our country wherever you fall on the spectrum of gun ownership rights. I think that's without debate, that we have a problem with guns in the country, and guns being in the wrong hands of the wrong people. Mr. Walker, would it be fair to say that the mayor would join us in sponsoring this as well?
Mr. Walker.
Through you, Mr. President, in fact, I discussed that with the council office on Friday, that to have the mayor added as a sponsor, so yes.
Okay, because I noticed it was, the resolve was from the mayor and the city council. I wanted to make sure we included him. I know he also supports this effort. So we're seeking not to take any political position on gun rights, freedom to own guns lawfully. This just takes a position that says we should all be more aware of guns, and we encourage guns and gun violence, and we encourage Quincy residents to support efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor the value of all human lives. I would ask that we vote on this resolution tonight, and I defer to Councilor Mahoney and Councilor Liang if they wanted to add anything in support of the resolution.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Mahoney, Counsel Yang. Counsel Mahoney?
So I'm very much in support of this. And yesterday at Quincy Pride, we had Moms Against Guns that were also there at the event. And I take a personal sense to this because 45 years ago, and I was very, very young 45 years ago. That's a long time ago, and I'm much older than that. I was. But there was something tragic that did happen in my family, and I really do believe that my parents are probably the strongest people because my sister was shot, and it changed the dynamics of our family from that day on. She's with us still, but she was a victim of a very, very dangerous evening, and she has lived her life with shrapnel in her legs her entire life. So to have grown up at a time where we were getting ready for my oldest sister's wedding, and the most excitement in my life at that time was that I was going to be a flower girl, to go from that, and it was in June, and to August, and not knowing whether or not how things were going to work out. But it's a miracle in some ways. She was able to be in the wedding and walk in the wedding. And I do remember, it's going to sound crazy when I say this, but the memory that I have is the biggest fight that we had was the shoes she had to wear because she couldn't wear the shoes she wanted to wear but that's really, coming from a young 20-year-old girl who's been shot that was able to get past the trauma of that. But this is something I take personally, and I remember it very vividly, how it changed the dynamic of my family. And, many people take lightly about this, and I know there's a lot of people who believe that everybody has a right to bear arms, and it's not that you do have to be educated in what you do, and there's a right time and a wrong time, but this was a gun that was stolen, and it got into the wrong person's hands, and it was a young kid that did it, and it changed his life as well. And one of the things that I was able to realize from my parents, how strong they were, was that they were able to take care of their daughter, and they were also able to recognize that that young person, just was in the wrong place at the wrong time and did the wrong thing. And that, we all have a chance to change the path, and the way we change it is by being educated about these things. So when Brian brought this forward, we were talking about this as really kind of and wasn't insensitive what he was like, it's kind of a no-brainer, we should all be involved in this. And I said, I take it very personally because, and he was a little taken back, and I said, it's not something that I share openly very often, but when it comes to guns, I am somebody who believes that, my mom grew up on a farm, guns were part of it, there's an active place for it, but automatic weapons do not belong anywhere near anybody, there's no need for them, and we do have to be vigilant about it. And really what happens every time that I see something or hear something in the news or watch something, and it definitely impacts me, I think, prayer can only go so far, and it takes action to change things. And we have to be stronger and bigger and better than the lobbyists that we have in the country, because we do have to protect people, and other countries do it, and we need to step up and do it too. So I thank you very much for letting me share that, because it is a hard thing for me to talk about. My sister's life has been changed forever, and I think a lot of the things that she struggles with has a lot to do with that day. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Yang? Yep. Motion made by Counselor Palmucci to move approval, second by Counselor Mahoney. Any discussion? See none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane. Yes. Counselor DeBona. Yes. Counselor Harris. Yes. Counselor Hughes. Yes. Counselor Liang. Yes. Counselor Mahoney. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Yes. Counselor Palmucci. Yes. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members. Item passes. Next item on the agenda, please, Madam
Number
Clerk.
12, 2019-113, a resolve seeking the FCC to protect local access television. Joint resolution from the City Council and the School Committee. Councilor Mahoney.
Can we waive the reading?
Councilor Mahoney.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was still in my own head, sorry.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you very much to all of the counselors here tonight and to the mayor's office who is also supporting this. This is a joint resolution it's before the council here tonight, and the school committee will be introducing it at their next meeting. And what we're doing here is we're basically, Quincy Access Cable, it's a definite service to the city of Quincy. We have information that we share with the residents, it's broadcasted, our meetings, our school committee meetings, they're streamed. And there could be a loss of programming with this new FCC regulation. So basically, right now, and it doesn't matter what cable company is carrying, if you have 3 cable companies in your town, we only have 1, Comcast, it actually pays for the financing fee for the operating cost of QATV. The FCC is trying to change that right now, and if they were to change it, it would force communities to actually have to pick up the tab or not have it at all. So could be a giant change and a giant loss for the city of Quincy. It's from the educational opportunities that QATV offers our students. As we had Quincy Public Schools up here tonight, I can tell you firsthand that is a program that actually, from the early ages in the elementary school years, you see them in the summertime using QATV and doing their commercials and their programs all the way to the high schools. It is an asset to our community that maybe we take for granted because we don't realize how important it is. But I can tell you right now that if we don't get ahead of this resolution and actually stand up in communities, and they are doing it throughout the whole country, the challenge that we would have is really no different than the FEMA flood maps when they told you it wouldn't impact you. It will, and it will come back to impacting us in the city of Quincy by it being the cost of either not having it or having to fund it without the FCC standing strong and making sure that those finance fees are covering those operating costs. So I thank everybody on the council for putting their name and introducing this with me tonight, and I stand by QATV for the resources that they do provide to our community. And what we're going to be asking for is that when this resolve is passed, that the city of Quincy, the council, and the school committee work together in a unified response to the FCC as a form of a letter, and that would be to our federal constituents to be able to do that. And then also that potentially that the city of Quincy could put information on the city website so that individuals can also communicate to their federal representatives to make sure that they realize how important this is for our city and for other communities throughout the state and also throughout the country, really. So thank you very much. Motion approved.
I'll yield to Councilor DeBoner, and then if I could speak after.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy to co-sponsor with you, Councilor Mahoney. I think this is a very important resolution here in front of us. Just anybody that's watching this tonight, I mean, you might not be able to get that type of access and in your home and be able to watch it live, actually. So we're live right now. So also talking a little bit about the students, I know there was some improvements and a good investment at North Quincy High School for their technology and communications area with these type of videos. And I mean, the technology nowadays that we're going to need going into this next century, I mean, what we're into right now, the next decade, is unmatched. I mean, the technology speed. They just upgraded a few years ago at QATV with new videos and upgrades, and it really helps out. They allow you. Before I became a council member, before I became a school committee member, I was able to go in there at a very reasonable price of $25, $30 a year and be able to do your own videos in there. So you could go in, you can take you can check out the video, and you can do your videos all throughout the city, go back into the editing room, do your editing, make your video, and telecast it on QATV, on Channel 8. And you could do your own show, basically, and it's something that volunteers across the city could do for other youth sports, other nonprofits. It allows people to be able to watch and see. I know Barry Welch had just retired here for 54 years of being. He did so many shows up there, basketball free throw contests, different stuff in the swimming pools, different recreation stuff, basketball games. Tennis matches, all those things that kids can see on TV, parents can see their children on TV. Those are all very important matters that if we lose some funding for this, it could be, you'd have to lay off a few people over there. You'd have to figure out how to fund some of these things. And this is a very important factor for the city of Quincy as well. So it's unfortunate it could be a trickle-down effect. A lot of things could happen, but I'm happy to help and support our Quincy School Committee as well as our Quincy Public Schools. I think we need this, and thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Councilor DeBona, Council Palmucci, then Council Kane. Council Palmucci.
Thank you. The value, I'll support this for a number of reasons. First and foremost is the value of QATV can't be overstated. QATV in general is a tool. It's a tool that allows the citizens of Quincy to know what their government does and to know what happens in the city. that is fundamental to the democracy of our country. It's fundamental to the democracy of our city. An informed public is invaluable to a representative democracy. And this really just, what's happening at the national level really strikes to the core of some of our democratic ideals that were born in Quincy, in this region, in Massachusetts. And people have sacrificed their lives over generations, over hundreds of years, in service of the flag and in service of those ideals of liberty and democracy and freedom and self-government. So we really can't overstate the value that QATV has. They play such an important role. That's the first reason why I'll support this. The second is Councilor DeBona's makeup budget would take a hit if we had to start covering them, and we got to support no. So I will definitely be voting in favor of this. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome, no.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kane.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, thank you, Councilor Mahoney. I think this is a great idea, and there's a lot that the FCC is doing to curb the benefits that local communities could be rearing, especially as we've seen most recently in this, widely promoted and fantasized about 5G network, and we're losing out on tons of fees that we could be recuperating for the placement of these small cells that are going to be all over the city. But further to this, which will be we last year, with the support of the body, we supported the exploration of developing a municipal broadband network in the city so that we can provide the residents with a choice as consumers in the city. But what that will also allow in this network that will be municipally owned and operated is for the creation or the support of local access like this. So if the FCC is going to curb our appetite, this is a great opportunity for us to participate in the disruption and to decentralize and to bring the power back to the municipality. So this is a great initiative that lends itself well to the initiatives that we're trying to take in the municipal broadband effort. And we've been working with I've been working with the mayor's office and getting the initial steps for that. So hopefully by the fall we'll have more by way of how we can move forward with supporting the residents and having options for internet and cable delivery. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilor Mahoney, second by Councilor Yang. Any further discussion before we take a vote? I just, again, want to thank Councilor Mahoney. I know you worked really hard on this, over the last couple of weeks to bring this to the body, so I appreciate that. And, just wanted to end without, by saying I support, 110% our friends at Quincy Access Television. It's a tremendous tool, so thank you, for your hard work on this. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris.
Yes.
Counselor Hughes.
Yes.
Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor Mahoney. Yes. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members. The item passes. Approval of previous meeting minutes from May 20th, 2019. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Communications and reports from the mayor, other city officers, and city boards. Madam Clerk.
I do have some communications this evening. One is a grant of location to refer to Public Works Committee for advertising, and that's with National Grid Gas at 200 Quarry Hills Drive. Next is 3 traffic requests to refer to Ordinance Committee for advertising. Ward 3, Councilor Kane, add 2-hour parking unless otherwise posted. Ward 3, Wollaston MBTA station area. Add handicap parking on the east side of South Central Terrace, South Central Ave, and 25 feet north of South Central Ave. Ward 5, Councilor Hughes, add no parking on the east side of Waterston Ave, Wollaston Ave, and Willow Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any unfinished business from preceding meetings? Reports of committees. Councilor Liang.
A couple of traffics I just want to report out. So the first is from Ward 1, it's Council Order 2019-099, add 4-way stop at intersection of Rock Island Road at Littlefield Street. I'd like to move positive recommendation.
Motion made by Councilor Yang, second by Councilor McCarthy. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Kane.
Yes.
Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members.
Thank you. And the next and last is in Ward 4, 2019-100, add handicap parking at 144 Quincy Street. I move positive recommendation.
Motion made by Counselor Yang, second by Counselor Palmucci. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kane. Yes. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Hughes. Counselor Liang.
Yes.
Counselor Mahoney. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Palmucci. President Kroll.
Yes.
9 members.
9 members, the item passes. Any other reports of committees?
Not from
You're all-
ordinance.
You're all set, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, okay. Seeing none, presentations of petitions, memorials, and remonstrance. Seeing none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Anybody? Okay. Scheduling of committee meetings, we'll be back in this room on Wednesday, June 5th, for finance. Anybody else need a meeting schedule between now and Counselor Yang?
Thank you. I'd like to schedule an ordinance committee meeting at 7:20 prior to our next regularly scheduled council meeting on June 17th. It's a public hearing for Council Order 2019-107, ordinance for Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, establishing a National Grid roadway improvement revolving fund, sorry.
Absolutely. It's on the, you good?
Thank you, yes.
All right. Any other scheduling of committee meetings? Counselor Harris? Yes, sir.
The June 20th at 7:25, could we schedule a public hearing of the grant of location of National Grid Gas, Quarry Hills Drive?
On June 20th?
June
Oh,
17th.
sorry. All right.
Monday, June 20th.
7:25.
That's why I was like, really?
June
Yes.
17th?
Yes,
A
sir.
misprint, sorry.
It's okay.
And I don't have my glasses on.
Nope, you're good. Any other scheduling of committee meetings? So with that, I would entertain motion to adjourn. So moved. We close the city council meeting at 8:41. Thank you.